Harley Davidson testing at a Moto GP track. What's going on? Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So the shenanigans with Harley Davidson just continues. So Harley Davidson last week were seen to be testing their bikes at a Moto GP track at Barcelona, testing post the season Moto GP season. This is a standard affair for Moto GP teams. But why were Harley Davidson there? They weren't there to enter the Moto GP. They were there with their King of the Baggers bikes. And they were shooting around the track, for a few laps. And they were showing everybody their bikes. So what's going on? They're not getting involved in Moto GP. They were in the sort of higher echelons of motorcycle racing back in the early 70s, of course. But they haven't been there for the longest time. Does this mean that they're going to be producing a Moto GP bike in the future? No, this has got nothing to do with that. So what is it? Are they showing that these Moto GP riders and teams look at our baggers, look at our really fast baggers? There's a little bit of that. In fact, apparently they were well received by the riders who were seeing something different here, right? Or the other teams, the other principals of the teams who were seeing something different. But what is this really all about? Well, for me, this is not about showing how great Harley Davidson are at producing race bikes. Now, race bikes, which can go pretty fast in all fairness, especially because they're big, heavy things. But the problem is they can't do many laps. I spoke to a race engineer a couple of years ago, and they were saying, they're good for what? 10 laps, I think it is. The tyres, this is, at max, the tyres just get absolutely shredded. Well, obviously, these are not going to be competitive in any kind of longer races. And that's what you get in the King of the Baggers, of course. Certainly great racing, of similar kind of bikes, heavy bikes, but they only do a certain amount of laps. So they're not going to go on for 20, 30 laps, are they? But this is about business. This is about partnerships. This is about business deals behind the scenes. And this is about race circuits and race tools all over the world, where you can get teams and different categories on a bill, let's say. Now, does this mean that King of the Baggers is going to be on every Moto GP race around the world? Or is it going to be at, let's say, another half a dozen, another 15 races around the world? Potentially, there is that. It could be that they just stick to the United States and they just introduce a couple into Europe or something like that. That's where this is kind of heading. It's about the deals that they're doing with other companies, the sponsorships that they're doing with other companies, and it's whether the King of the Baggers themselves can expand their race series to other parts of the world and maybe tag on to the Moto GP as well. I was very interested from, let's say, from their point of view to associate with the cream of the crop in the Moto GP world, because you're talking about totally different animals. You're talking about big, powerful, heavy bikes, and you're talking about powerful, very light bikes with ultra modern technology, groundbreaking technology. I'm going to talk about this in another video and talk in terms of the kind of components and how they make the components on those bikes as well, in terms of carbon fiber, in terms of 3D printing, all that kind of stuff. But we're not talking about that with Harley Davidson, right? Yes, there are some elements of technology there, but it's in terms of the weight. This is the biggest thing, right? In terms of the weight and the handling of these bikes, totally different machines, totally different animals, and totally different forms of racing. So not necessarily I'm saying that MotoGP is better, which it is, but it's more about that this is a business opportunity for Harley Davidson to not only spread their name, but also to try and expand the King of the Baggers race series or Harley Davidson's involvement in that race series and maybe promote it elsewhere as well. This is all about business. This is all about branding, brand recognition, brand identity, and trying to get your brand associated with other top-notch racing entities, in this case, MotoGP. Now, does anybody take it seriously? Does everybody kind of take this at face value and sort of understand where we're really at with this? Yes, but it's very interesting to say that they were at Barcelona, they were testing, they were shooting a few laps as well, but it's more for a show and tell rather than a serious presence there. Now, you've got to ask yourself, well, was it really worth it? Is it really going to be worth it? Because there's nothing signed here. There's nothing to say that Harley Davidson or the King of the Baggers is going to expand its series anywhere. It's not saying that at all. This could have been a futile exercise. In fact, it could have been an embarrassing exercise. We don't know how other teams and how other racers truly felt about it because nobody said a word about it. We know that they went there. According to Jochen Seitz and Harley Davidson, they would say they were well received, that they got a lot of praise from other teams, from other riders. But we haven't actually heard from the other side, so we don't know. Now, as a racer, as another race team, you might look at another form of racing and be really interested to see what they're doing. But in terms of competing, in terms of what their racing is and what their racing is, you kind of think, well, it's irrelevant, really. It doesn't make any difference to us. But Harley Davidson, yes, they were a Moto GP track in Barcelona. They were testing their bikes, or they were really showing their bikes on a racetrack rather than properly testing them and testing them alongside Moto GP bikes. That's probably more the point. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, well, just keep on watching the videos and I'll catch you again. Bye now.